All right, Jay, if you want to start, you can just introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get going with the interview.
Great. Spencer, thanks for having me on. Very briefly, my name is Jay Robicheaux. I am a 38-year-old entrepreneur with a degree from LSU in general studies and a master's in finance. I run a couple of small businesses, my primary business being Robicheaux Financial, which is an investment management and financial advisory firm. We also have an insurance company, Coastal Louisiana Insurance.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. We're super glad to have you here, and thank you again in advance for helping us out here. And I guess to start, you can just tell us a little bit about how you market for Robicheaux Financial as well as the New York Life side. And this could include, not just digital, but also the traditional or, the old ways, I guess, of marketing as well.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And let me start by differentiating the two businesses that we run, because I think this will give you guys a little more perspective. Because Robicheaux Financial is affiliated with New York Life, and we are an RIA, a registered investment advisory practice. I'm an investment advisory representative for an RIA called Eagle Strategies, which is a fully owned subsidiary of New York Life. Technically, I say all that to say that business is very regulated, both by FINRA, the industry itself, and by New York Life. So in that business, the differentiation is what marketing do I do for Robicheaux Financial? And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But for Coastal Louisiana Insurance, because we primarily focus on property and casualty insurance here in the state of Louisiana, and it is a separate business from New York Life or any advisory firm, the marketing restrictions aren't as great. So let me start by talking about that business first. With that business, we utilize a lot of Facebook advertising, and we use a lot of Google ads. Part of the reason that we do that is we realize how important SEO has become to our business. So one of the things that we've focused a little bit on the past and that we're going to be doing a lot more of is getting more reviews on Google, because we've realized that SEO and digital marketing is where that business is going. We do not engage in any traditional marketing in that business other than a very traditional method, which is we do make it a point to meet our friends and neighbors in person, shake a hand, and leave a business card. That is something that COVID has put a lot of restrictions on. So internet-based marketing has become our lifeblood, as it were, in that business. Now, on the Robicheaux Financial side, because of the regulations on that business, we're not allowed to do any digital marketing that's not prior approved by New York Life's compliance department. That makes it difficult for us to do digital, but one of the things that we have done in that regard is we do have a Facebook and a LinkedIn presence. We do try to make sure that all of the information on Google is current. Because we are an investment advisory representative, the crazy thing is we aren't even allowed to have clients leave us positive Google reviews. If a client leaves a positive Google review, compliance says that we have to take it down, because we're not allowed to have what are considered endorsements from clients. So what's interesting about that business is that the restrictions on the business are completely at odds with the way that people find trusted advisors and individuals in our industry to connect with. That could be a whole different topic for a different day. So suffice to say that we rely a lot on word of mouth in that business, as well as on marketing to our current client base.
Yeah, that's super interesting. We had a similar discussion with that with the State Farm guy that we recently interviewed. He said the same thing, that they have difficulty sometimes with their digital marketing side because it's so heavily regulated by by the company itself.
Yeah, so you do have a couple of different impediments in that regard. And one of the reasons that we're focusing our marketing efforts on Coastal Louisiana Insurance is that we don't have the compliance burden. but we do try to cross-market between the two companies. So one of the things that we'll do is when we find a new client on Coastal Louisiana Insurance, we'll add them to a database that will allow us to send them emails and other information about New York Life with and Robicheaux Financial with opt-out language attached to it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a good way to kind of go into the next question, which is kind of like, what has worked best from like the marketing side of the two companies, and what have you tried that didn't work so well?
Yeah, to be very candid with you, Spencer, I'm a very big believer that any sort of advertising, if properly researched and applied, will provide you positive results. At the end of the day, how you measure those metrics, I think, determines what you consider a success or failure. And I'll give you an example. Early on in my career, I had a billboard that I put up at the intersection of Interstate 12 and Walker Road, which was sort of the main artery in the town of Walker, Louisiana. At the time, I was working for Farm Bureau Insurance. That's before I went out on my own. And I wasn't in the securities business, but I had the billboard there. I had the billboard there for about a year, and I had a pretty good deal on the billboard. I think I was maybe paying at the time $350 a month, which is a steal. Mm-hmm. The long and the short of it is no one ever called me from that billboard. And if I said, did that billboard lead to direct sales? The answer is absolutely not. It would have been a failure. But 3, 4, 5 years later, people would still say, long after I left Farm Bureau, by the way, hey, I saw you on that billboard, or do you still have that billboard? So it helped me with top of mind presence, which I think with a marketing campaign is something that you've got to differentiate, is what metrics are you using to make your marketing campaigns valuable. In the past, when we've used print, it's been something similar, but I find that if you're trying to drive inbound business through marketing, the best way, the best bang for your buck is to bring someone onto your staff and do marketing person to person for you, especially in the financial services business. Now, not everybody can do that. But on that side, you've got to figure out a way to be in constant contact with your clients. And so that may be the newsletter that we print, which nobody ever calls about an article that they read in the newsletter. But when I talk to clients, I know they saw them. And that's a way to maintain that rapport and to get those vaunted touches that you talk about in the marketing world that lead to sales. On the Coastal Louisiana side, that's less of a relationship-based business, at least at first, and it's more of a transactional business. And because we're not encumbered by the marketing efforts, what we've found great success with is Google. Google advertising, really focusing on increasing our Google SEO and really making sure that we pop up on the first page. So that's been very successful. Once again, like I said, I can't say that I've had any marketing efforts that we've seen no results from. I think it's just greater results from a sales-based perspective in some regards than others, but keeping in mind that some combination of touches and monitoring how they are producing the results you're looking for is very important. And so for us, that might be that we measure it from when we answer the phone and it's somebody that's not connected to our business. How did you hear about us?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Are y'all paying for any leads right now on the Coastal Louisiana side, Jay?
We are not paying for leads. That is something that we have discussed. This is an interesting thing about marketing that I think you'll appreciate. I'd encourage you to check out a company called CoverWallet. Okay, what CoverWallet is essentially is an online insurance brokerage that allows insurance advisors to run quotes and in many cases bind not just coverage but a policy in real time. Not only that, but CoverWallet has a client-facing portal and an advisor-facing portal. And a client can buy insurance direct through CoverWallet. In fact, that was the original intent for a lot of these companies, where they were going to replace insurance agents. Well, what they found is that they really didn't have a lot of people who wrote insurance off the internet. They did generate a lot of interest and a lot of questions. So many of these businesses, CoverWallet included, have pivoted from okay, we're going to go out there and we're going to start the conversation, and then we're going to give you the lead. So in CoverWallet's perspective, it really is genius. What they'll do is for every policy that we write through them, they will give us an extra 30 leads. So the idea is that we keep coming back for the free leads and we keep writing through them, and it continues to generate pipeline. So that's something that this company that we've partnered with does an excellent job of. And so we don't have to pay for the leads. Although that is something that if we had some impediment to generating the amount of business that we had, we would absolutely consider. Because once again, whether it's on the insurance side or especially the advisory side, being proactive and having a conversation is important.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've never heard of that company before, but that is a pretty good idea, and that's smart, for people to group up with them. And so I guess that kind of transitions over to like what has been like the biggest challenge that you faced since your beginning of your career with regards to marketing, such as like has there ever been like a lack of knowledge, or has there ever been a roadblock, or just like something that you just didn't know how to do whatsoever?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there will always be roadblocks. Roadblocks early in my career were often I was limited on what I could do from a marketing perspective by compliance. As I got further in my career, I realized one of the big impediments was that the way to market and the way that people wanted to be marketed to was changing, and I wasn't very knowledgeable about that. There's two ways to fix that. Number one is to increase your knowledge, which I've done some of, or the other is to hire people who already have the knowledge, which is going to be more and more of what I do in the future, is to hire people who have the knowledge of really being able to dig deep and market, or to contract with somebody who can help us in that regard. And I've done a little bit of both. There's a guy named Brian Haldane who has a morning radio show here in Baton Rouge, who was in social media for a few years, social media marketing while he was off of the radio. And so we consult with Brian on a small monthly fee basis to just kind of come and do a once over, review what we're doing, see what we're doing well, give us ideas. And then a young guy that I have who's actually at about the same point in his LSU career as you, named Isaac, is doing the actual marketing. So what's great is that he is getting an idea of what marketing is for the 21st century. He does some outbound calling of leads for us. He does some inbound, conversation with clients and then directing them to our quote portal. He also will help with the marketing, the cross marketing that I talked about between Coastal and Robicheaux Financial, and reaching those clients that we already have through either digital or traditional means. And then we use a combination of both to keep that bridge of contact going.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that's what we usually, we talk about in class, and we like recommend, that you have people that are knowledgeable about it, working on it. As well as, constantly, which I know you are, constantly innovating within marketing, because, it's such a fast moving, field of business, and I guess.
Yeah, let me just make one point to that, by the way, which is this. Staying on top of where trends are going is going to give you the most bang for your buck. I'll give you an example. The algorithms are always changing, right? And how people are advertising is always changing. And I think the most bang for the buck are probably in media that we're not even using yet, like TikTok. As long as I never have to watch a TikTok video, I'm fine to market on it.
Yeah, no, I definitely get, and that's also something that we've talked about within my, marketing classes is TikTok. And that's something that like a lot of us are telling businesses to start doing, which is crazy. Cause a lot of people think it's just for kids, but like, there is a lot of adults, even, people your age, are actually on a TikTok as well. There isn't a whole lot of research on that and how much, it actually helps your business. But again, it could be the same way as like that billboard helped your business, with the fact that, it might help out your, like people know who you are. They might not buy from you, but at least they'll have that recognition from you.
Sure. Top of mind name recognition has real value, even if it's hard to quantify. But that being said, there's a part of me, the philosophical part of me that realizes that while that's probably a profitable medium, I just don't want to contribute to that societal decay in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. It's definitely a weird and different way. And again, like it may be seen as not professional as well, so there's a lot of social issues with that as well that you could face. I guess that, to kind of like our final overarching question here would be like, is there any questions that you have for us as students or, in the professional research world with regards to your business that, you don't know what to do or how to do something, or is there something that like, you just can't seem to figure out, because I know it's a pretty broad question, but I'm just curious if you have anything like
Well,
that.
so let me ask you, let me answer your question with another question, which is this, Spencer. It's, if I can tell you something and quantify an issue, what are you guys going to do to fix it?
Gotcha. So basically what our plan is here is that we're going to have this interview, right? And then me and my partner, we're going to talk about it, have a little, podcast per se, where we're going to discuss your business as a whole for about the same amount of time here, about 15, 20 minutes, where we'll talk about, the benefit, like what are you doing well, what would need improvement in, and then some ideas that we have with regards to digital marketing. And so and if we don't have that answer, then of course we can talk to our professor that we're doing this research with as well, and he may be able to point us in the right direction.
Yeah, and by the way, who are you doing this project with?
So this is under Professor Aaron Gleiberman. So he's in charge of basically the digital marketing side and like the sales. So he's the lead sales professor as well as the professor that teaches the digital marketing classes.
Interesting. Have you interacted with Greg Accardo at all?
So I haven't personally talked to him, but he does send all the marketing majors a lot of emails and stuff like that. And I know he's kind of like the big guy. And then Aaron teaches the intro professional selling class, and then they kind of move on to some of Greg Accardo's stuff after that.
Gotcha. I've followed a little bit of Greg's career arc because he was actually a general agent for Knights of Columbus Insurance once upon a time. But he has really bought into using a lot of the integrated selling systems and really utilizing those better. That's something that I think our agency could really use some help on, is how to integrate our platforms even better than we already are. There's so many platforms. There's so many things going on. We're using one called QQ Catalyst, which is specifically geared toward property and casualty insurance agencies. On the New York Life side, I use a platform that's a Salesforce-based platform. And really, though, all I use that for is running reports and sort of keeping track of things. I don't really use it as some sort of marketing dashboard like I probably should. Because on that business, it's just me. And so my focus is typically on what I know that works and what I know I can do within a marketing world. So the dual role is something, that I maybe could understand better, how to kind of walk the line and make sure that both businesses are getting the attention that they need. That's probably sort of a unique problem, because I know a lot of the businesses that y'all work with, like a State Farm agent, probably just has his agency. But I can assure you of this. For entrepreneurs, knowing how to understand the whole ecosystem of marketing, how to cross-market when they have multiple businesses, to use those businesses to feed marketing opportunities to each other, is something that's largely untapped. Is how do you teach that serial entrepreneur who maybe is already even a good marketer to market better? And I think there's going to be a lot of money to be made in that particular field in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Like I said, me and my partner will, like I said, I already have a bunch of ideas in my head, and me and him have also talked about it already too. So I am looking forward to talking about that for you, and maybe we'll be able to help you out a little bit with some of the troubles. And again, I already know it's going to be difficult with Robicheaux Financial. I know that we've talked about this before. With the amount of constraint that you have from compliance and from the company as a whole, which could be a good thing. We were talking about that with the State Farm agent, where it's like, it could be good to save brand. Like for instance, with State Farm, it's like they don't want an agent saying something bad or saying something that the company doesn't want their face to be associated with.
Sure. And, I've got to be very candid with you. I get where these companies are coming from, but at a certain point, they're not going to be able to control all the different means that their agents or their employees use to communicate with the public anyway. So I think informed education about how to do that and maybe adapting their policies accordingly is one of the things that corporations are going to have to deal with. Either that or they're going to be firing a lot more people in days and years to come, because as much as my generation has really embraced things like TikTok and the newer faith parlor, whatever it is, if you're a right-leaning individual, there is a wild west out there of how people talk and communicate and how businesses generate business. And I don't think any corporation from a corporate perspective really understands it well. But it will be something that will behoove them greatly to spend the time and money and resources to figure out in the very near future.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and that's something that we have talked about too. Is that how a lot of these older companies that are ran by, older generations don't understand, the scope and impact that social media has on our generation, and I think it's going to be hard for people like State Farm to like compete with these insurance companies that don't have as much compliance issues, because those companies can, go on TikTok or go on these social media, Facebook, and run Q&As and talk about their products. Whereas, I know like our last guy said that like for State Farm, they're not allowed to talk about their products on like social media, and like stuff like that. Whereas like people my age don't know anything about home and auto, and so like it may be an advantage for companies like you to talk about home and auto on social media, where State Farm agents.
It's funny you mentioned that. We have done one sort of Q&A, and the people who called in and asked were basically people who knew us, to kind of help us get that traction. So that's also one of the things that people from our generation need to understand. And I understand it intrinsically, but then I'm like, okay, I don't have time for this crap if it's not yielding results. Is to be effective doing something like that, it's got to be a consistent part of your marketing program going forward. Social and building SEO and the cachet of making sure that you're an influencer, all these different things build on itself. And that's something that is really interesting to me. And that's why I'm glad to have somebody on my staff who can sort of push me in that direction, is so that they remind me that the way things have been done is not the way things will always be done.
Yep. That's a great point. Like I said, I can already tell that you're doing a great job with this. And so, I'm looking forward to,
we're doing an okay job. We're doing an okay job. And so we can always be better,
of
but
course.
We're doing it because we're forced to, not because we're cutting edge. It's just a fact of reality, adapt or die. And hopefully we're adapting fast enough, and we're always willing to, take some help.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And like I said, I'm looking forward to helping y'all out. I know y'all are a great local company. And I think, to kind of, to wrap everything up here, we just want to, thank you again for helping us out. I know you have a busy day, so taking some time out, it's really appreciated. And we will definitely be in touch with you very soon, within the next week or two, with your, with your report per se, where we'll go over everything for you, and hopefully we'll be able to give you some value from that.
Thanks a bunch. Have a good rest of your Easter break. Enjoy the holy holiday, and we look forward to hearing from you again as well.
Perfect, Jay. I appreciate it.